Welcome back to Spirit Squared. I'm Andrew Darrington, your host. Today we're here at the Young Professional Building here in downtown Tyler, which was formerly the Tyler Morning News paper building. And so we're here. Thanks so much for letting us use this space. This is going to be our new space in 2026. Really looking forward to having some conversation in this space and all the good that we're going to get out of 2026. We've got some excellent guests on the list and pretty excited about that. We had a couple cancellations in December, so we decided to do something fun where I'm going to be interviewing myself. So today we've got Andrew Darrington, who is the host of Spirit Squared, as my guest, and we're going to kind of go through some fun things. We're going to thank some sponsors and talk about some changes we're going to make in 2026. So stay tuned, it should be fun. Hey, so Andrew, so why did you want to get into podcasting? So really, I mean, it started during COVID. I was, doing some sampling, spirit sampling, and when that business kind of fizzled after COVID subsided, and everybody started going back to full-time sports and full-time cheerleading and all that good stuff, and going seeing grandparents again. That business kind of fizzled out. And so I had some good friends that kind of pushed me and felt like I would be a good interviewer. And I told good stories and had a lot of fun with a lot of different types of folks. And they pushed me into launching a podcast, and had some other good friends that connected me with some people to get it launched. And it's been a ride. It's been a lot of fun. The first couple guests, God bless them. They had to endure some pretty rough patches where I was struggling and nervous and all those things. But when we launched in June 2023, I would have never even guessed that it's become what it is. It's really been fun, and it's been a great ride. So you said in June 2023, you guys launched. Talk to me a little bit about some of the first interviews and that you had, and some of the first kind of memories you had of the podcast. Well, so the first couple of podcasts, I really kind of tried to make sure that I had some people that I trusted and that were friends of myself, and people that I knew that would think lighthearted of what we were trying to do. And so we had Chris on. That was a good friend of mine that knew a lot about Balcones, and I had Dylan Winberg. That's a good friend of mine that I knew he'd be funny, and he's an EMT, and he's smart as all get out and knows what he's talking about. And I knew he'd be real funny and use a lot of punchlines, and he's just very dry humor, and I knew I'd have fun. I even messaged his wife about some things that I didn't know and that I could bring up that he hadn't shared. And so kind of got him on a couple zingers, and that was really fun. I had Shannon on Hood, who's a good friend of mine that is super smart and really knows what she's talking about, really represents the female side of the spirit business. And she's very impactful for East Texas, and not just East Texas, but really everywhere. So, those first, I can think of Yvonne and Rudy coming on. They're great people, good friends, and have an invaluable amount of knowledge and intellect in the area. So those are kind of a lot that were standing out. They were real super patient with me. Traveled to the locations that we're filming from, and it was great. And it springboarded from there, from those, and being able to post those and share them with people. It legitimized the podcast a little bit more, where people then figured out I was trying to do something. I was trying to educate. I was trying to do more than just be purely spirit based. It was more just talking to people, getting to know what their business was like, and it just kind of moved into the nonprofit side of things. So talk to me a little bit about some of your favorite guests that you've had on over the last couple years. Well, okay, I've already talked about Dylan. He was one of my favorites. He's a very good friend, one of my best friends, and he's just super smart guy, really funny. If you have an opportunity to go watch his episode, it's probably one of the more funny ones, and definitely in year one. So Dylan, was a great guest and really good to have at the beginning. Arlene Gregg is a special person. Shout out to Yvonne for connecting us. I connected with her so easily, like it's the first time I met her, and it almost felt like I knew her for a long time. If you need a spiritual advisor, she is like, you have to go see her. Dr. O, okay, so he is the PhD at Game Day Tyler. He does a fantastic job. He's very passionate about what he does. He was very informative. He's also an immigrant, and I think it was very important for me to showcase someone who came into the United States, did it the right way, is now contributing to our area in a very impactful way, very selfless, and does something for a group, us guys, that we really just don't take care of ourselves very often. And so if you haven't had an opportunity to listen to that episode, there's a lot of good nuggets there for guys that are trying to get healthier and try to solve some problems, especially when we get older. I had the mayor of Lindale on, so if you're into politics, he doesn't even get paid, which I thought was crazy. So we had him on. He was a great guest. Alan Patton, we've had Alan on a couple times, so he's a retired homicide detective that tells us stories about homicide. Who doesn't like murder mystery? I mean, murder mystery is fantastic. And we had a couple live shows where we had some of our friends, family, and our sponsors were able to attend. He was very interactive, asked a lot of questions, and we're going to have him on in 2026. I'm always excited to have him on because he's telling us a story, and there's so many cliffhangers, and there's misdirections, and there's ways that you think something's going to happen, and then something different happens, and they find the gun here, they find evidence there, or whatever it is. It's always interesting and fun to have him on. And then of course my sister, I can't leave her out. She's super. She got the brains, passed down from my family for sure. She at the time she was a dean. Now she's gone back to being a professor, and it was fun having her on. I had my parents there with us, and so they got to listen to us kind of banter back and forth. And then we got to talk after. It was just a super fun experience interviewing your sister. We weren't super close when we were growing up, but as we gotten older, we become more and more alike, and so it's just fun to talk to somebody who's so accomplished and well spoken. So that was super fun. All right, Andrew, talk to me about the nonprofits. I mean, you said earlier that you started with friends and people that were in the spirit business. You jumped to nonprofits later in later episodes. Talk to me a little bit about some of the folks that you've had on that were nonprofits. All right, so a couple of the cool ones that we've had on that I really enjoyed interviewing was Path of Tyler. I didn't know that they provided a bunch of the box fans for folks that get hot during the summer. Incredible program, leader here in town. Really enjoyed talking with them. Camp Tyler, those guys are so passionate. If you're from Tyler, you've been through Camp Tyler. I mean, 4th grade, I think, is where all the Tyler, independent school system goes to kind of learn what they're, how to do stuff outside, whether it be, growing things or, animals and things like that. It was super awesome talking to them. We had the Belief Center on, which is a veteran program out of Van Zandt County. We also had, 2 or 3 veterans that have been on the podcast before to talk about their service and some of the things, adjusting to civilian life. We had 100 Men That Give a Damn, which is here in Tyler. They have a bunch of chapters, but we had them on, and it was kind of a cool getting their history of how they, started in Canada. It was actually led by women at first, 100 Women That Give a Darn, and then it turned into 100 Men That Give a Damn. And they're great. They're still kicking, and they always are looking for men that step forward and they enrich a nonprofit once a month, which I think is pretty cool. First Tee, yeah, as many of you, anybody knows, I'm a former golfer. I was an assistant pro at a couple different places, so First Tee has a special part of my heart. I love the game. It teaches us a lot, and especially that program, getting some kids out of some bad situations and teaching them discipline and the ability to acknowledge others and really be patient. I think there's a lot to learn there, and they were a great guest. The Heart of Tyler, which is really dealing with some hard times right now with all the construction downtown, but they do a lot of great things with decorating and lighting and all that good stuff. We had the Tyler Junior League, which just got done with a huge event that they have as kind of like a build up to Christmas. And it was awesome having them on. They're super enthusiastic, all women leadership there. And it was fun having them on. And then Compliments of Caroline just had them on. The Notewears, great people, creating a program where they facilitate breast milk, especially for the moms in their first couple days, give them a rest. I think that's incredible. And the fact that they're, being able to raise enough money to get people in to generate, I can't remember the amount of ounces, but it was a certain amount of ounces that they provide to every newborn in the Tyler area is incredible. It's an incredible accomplishment. All right, Andrew, talk to me about your sponsors. Most podcasts don't have sponsors, or they may have one or two. You've aligned yourself with some key businesses here in the area, and talk to us a little bit about who they are, what they do, and then how they've helped. Man, oh man, do we have some sponsors? It's really been the most eye-opening thing, other than our guests, that it's just blown me away at how many people have gotten behind the podcast and what we do and who we're trying to enrich and showcase and all that good stuff. It's been incredible. But I first have to start with Red Construction. Thomas and Martha were our first sponsors. I remember we got done with a live show and after hours, he was talking about how much he loved what we were doing, and he asked if we were doing sponsors. I hadn't really even thought about that at the time. I was just having fun, and I said, "Yeah, sure. I mean, we'd love it. It would maybe upgrade our equipment and help us with traveling." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm in." And he's been a loyal sponsor since that time, and I really appreciate them so much for getting behind what we're doing and kind of seeing that initially, and I really appreciate them. And then a good friend of mine owns Rex Consulting, Josh and Sonia Simmons. He kind of did the same thing, just kind of asked me, "Hey, you're looking for sponsors?" And we talk about the podcast a lot. He was one of the very good friends I had that pushed me into the podcast world and said, "Hey, look, I think you could do it," and got me motivated to do it after the sampling thing kind of fizzled out. So, they've been a great sponsor of ours. And really appreciate them, what they've done for us and with us. And then we've got Texas State of Mind Coffee, which is a kind of a newer sponsor of ours, Blake and his group. I was kind of looking for something that could emulate other podcasters giving gifts at the beginning of the podcast. And Blake was on the podcast, and I just love their story. They're the coffee of Texas, and I also like the fact that they're esteemed. It's just a good story. I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, what are your thoughts about teaming up and giving a pack of coffee away? It can promote your coffee and it can promote the podcast." And he was like, "Heck yeah, man, I'd love to do it." And so they've been a really good sponsor, and we've helped them put some coffee in some people's hands that maybe didn't know about them, and at the same token has helped us facilitate a gift for our guests. So really, really appreciate them. Hoot and Holler Packaged Beverage down in Gun Barrel City. I went on a trip with Scott, their owner, to Guadalajara and then to Tequila. It was kind of a business trip where we went over there, and so over those couple days we formed a bond, and then I asked him. I said, I'd love to have a package store behind the podcast, and he was open to it and has been for over a year. So Scott and his team, I've developed close relationship with Mike and Regina there, and they're great people. It's been a really good partnership. I really appreciate having them as a sponsor supporting us. We've got Stanley's Barbecue. That's a sponsor of ours. I approached Heather because Stanley's is a name that is synonymous with Tyler. They've been around for a long time. They do a lot of live music. They do a lot of nonprofit work, and I couldn't have picked really a better restaurant to kind of team up with to promote them, promote the podcast, and it's just a special place for Tyler. And I'm glad that they've partnered up with us. I've got a good friend in Ray Plunkett who sells insurance. I have insurance with him through Goosehead, and he was one of those that just approached me and said, "Hey, could I be a sponsor?" And I was like, "Wow, okay, yeah, sure." We don't have any insurance agents yet, and so he's a good friend, and really appreciate his support. He's always sending me texts at the beginning of the month, asking about guests and things of that nature. So really want to appreciate him. Our core sponsor has really helped channel us and get us to a point where we can do a lot more in the next year or two, and that's Blake and Virginia Young, or the Young family. They've done a ton for us through the Humidor, through the Vault, and upcoming the Houdinis. He's always been a big fan. He's been on the podcast before, and they've really helped us get to a point where we're at now, and got us positioned to where we can do more than what I'd ever thought we could do, and he's pushing me to do more, like and challenging the best guests, and trying to search for that those special companies and nonprofits to bring forward and help us kind of push them forward to where they can tell their story and help enrich their own nonprofit or business or the area. So really want to thank the Young family for being sponsors and supporting what we're doing. I think Blake saw it a lot earlier than I did, and I'm thankful for that. All right, Andrew, I've heard some gossip about possibility of some changes coming to the podcast. Can you talk to us a little bit about what those changes are going to be, and how's things going to happen? When are they going to happen? Yeah, Andrew, we are making some changes to the show in 2026. When I first started with this podcast, I was transitioning from doing the sampling for the spirits at the Beckham Hotel, and that's kind of what was in what I was used to and what I knew a pretty good bit about, and so it was easy for me to talk to. And so I had a couple friends come on. We mainly were talking about spirits and stuff like that, and it was really fun. But then it turned into so much more. And so now that we have the entrepreneurs and the nonprofits, we definitely want to be more aligned with what I think the podcast has turned into. And so, yeah, we were going to change our name, mainly because, first off, spirits. I don't want to be just about us having drinks or whatever it is. And heck, I mean, some of our podcasts we didn't even have beverages, but I don't want my guests to feel pressured that they need to come on here. I don't want to feel pressured to have to come on here. There's going to be times where I want to not have anything for extended periods of time. So when I have podcasts, I don't want that to be an element of it. It's also kind of hindered us from having some of the guests that I really want to have on because they don't want to be associated with that. And so I get it. So this frees us up to quite a few more guests and different things that I want to get into and learn about, and also kind of present to our podcast followers. The other thing is Spirit Squared. I mean, there's a lot of people that kind of came forward that said, are you guys talking about ghosts? So it kind of made me laugh because I get it. When you try to pull up Spirit Squared in Spotify or in Amazon Audible, sometimes that's what comes up is these ghost podcast. And so just to kind of eliminate all of that, we're going to change in 2026, or actually we're already changing a lot of the the signage and things like that in Spotify and in Instagram and stuff like that. But our new name is going to be the 903 Podcast. And I think it's going to really kind of resemble what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring forward nonprofits, entrepreneurs, friends, family of East Texas, and just kind of showcasing their talents and what they do, their business, and the people that they're impacting and helping. We want to be more in line with that, and we feel like that name is going to put us in a position where we're going to have great guests, we're going to have great content, we're going to have great sponsors, and it's going to represent, for now, the 903. And we think that we could grow it bigger, but for now, we really want to just kind of focus on the 903 and all the good people that are in this area and what we can bring forward to our listeners. So it's a more inclusive name. It's going to be better for us to have good conversations and show how much more we can do with the podcast. Hey, that sounds awesome, Andrew. I mean, it sounds like 2026 is going to be pretty awesome. And just so you know, we have half the year already booked. We've got some other exciting changes. We're going to move to a different production company. We've got some awesome new cameras. We've got awesome new audibles. We've got a new producer. I meant audio. We've got a great new producer. So we've got a new space. Everything's going to feel new. We've got a new name, and we've got a lot of guests. We've got probably a dozen guests already lined up in 2026. So we're going to have a fun time changing a lot of what we do and impacting, I hope, more people and growing the podcast and the channel even to more heights than we ever thought we would be able to do.